me crazy just looking at it. Combing your hair with your hand gives me feelings I don't understand. Combing your hair with your hand gives me feelings I don't understand. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. It's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live in a world without you. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. It's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live in a world without you. World without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. World without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. Without you, driving me crazy just looking at it. Driving me crazy just looking at it. Combing your hair with your hand gives me feelings I don't understand. Combing your hair with your hand gives me feelings I don't understand. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. It's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live in a world without you. You do this thing when I'm talking to you, like everything freezes and it's just you. You do this thing when I'm talking to you, like everything freezes and it's just you. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. It's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live in a world without you. Give it to me like world without you. Just looking at it. World without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. World without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. Driving me crazy just looking at it. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. It's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live without you.
Right, good evening, everybody. Hope everybody's all good out there. Hope everybody's had a good day. Oh, it's been a long day. But right, let's just get straight to the point on this one. Going to say hello to a couple of people, then bring the guests in, and we're going to take this one by the throat. Right, Mapping, how are you doing, mate? Mate, you're going live. Yes, I am, which I am now. And Tom, big up, Dan, big up to you too, mate. Rob, more of the Sun is in our club for the Asian market, forgetting about his contribution, ungrateful. Okay. And Rob, again, the important point, our club. Yes, it is. Daryl Denton, hope all's good for you, mate. We have better managers who got the sacked for less. I know where we are, where we stand on this. It's looking that way. And Dan G, big up, lads. Big up to you too. And Ray, big up, Dan. Big up to you. Looking forward to the masterclass on Thursday night. Well, glad you're looking forward to it because I'm not. And Rob, big up, Dan. Same to you too, mate. Hope you've had a good day. Seen you a lot on other channels. You know what you're talking about. Looking forward to your show. Thanks. Nice to hear someone says I know what I'm talking about. I don't really get that sort of love off my wife in that aspect, but only in that aspect. Other aspects I do. But there we go. Anyway, Ryan, big up to you too, mate. Right, let's bring this on. Good friend of mine that I've known nearly 30 years now. Make myself sound older. And we have Dave R, my co-mate on here. How are we doing?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. It's over 30, mate.
Oh, fuck off.
Sorry, but yeah, it's over 30. But to answer your question, yeah, obviously personally not that great, but good distraction. Get on the stream and talk about some Tottenham. That probably sums up my current state that I'm actually looking forward to discussing about Tottenham. So
just about says it all, doesn't it? Stel, how are we doing, mate?
Yeah, good man. Thanks for having me on. Big up to you. Big up to David. Good to see him again.
Yeah, good to see you too, mate. It's been a little while, hasn't it? I think so. Yeah, good to see you.
Always fun. Yeah. Right. So what we do with this one, I mean, there's a main topic that we've that we wish to talk about in the aspects of that. What really is the problem with this? Is it Ange's tactics or is it the team? Is it actually the players? But what we do, we just have a quick run over. This is more for the sake of my mate Dave here, on a few points that he wants to make out on the game against Arsenal. Dave, over to you, mate.
Yeah, I mean, it's like not like a big point I want to make as such. It's just that I've not had the chance to really discuss the North London derby yet, so I kind of just wanted to have a little revisit of it to see. But obviously, you said that we're talking about tactics as well, so I thought I'd do it from a tactical point of view. So I'll just give a general overview of how I felt, and obviously I'll give you and Stell a chance to reply to that, and then maybe break it down into smaller sections with a couple of graphics just to show what we're talking about. But generally speaking, I mean, it's one of those games, if you look at the stats and you didn't watch the game, you kind of think, okay, well, Tottenham actually done all right there. And I did watch the game and I was messaging you saying, actually, we're doing a lot better than I thought we would do. I thought we'd actually get truly, absolutely overrun for 90 minutes and we'd be struggling to be 4-5-0. I genuinely feared for us going into that game. So I was actually quite pleasantly surprised when that first 10 minutes had passed and we're like, actually, no, we're getting on top in the midfield here. We're winning the 50-50s. We're actually putting them under pressure. It's a positive start. And then good old Spurs shoot ourselves in the foot because not only did we concede stupidly from a corner, the actual corner, the conceding of the corner itself was our own fault, trying to play it out the back when it weren't really on at that point.
Why do we do that so much? We take more risks in front of our own fucking goal than we do up the other end.
It is what it is, right? And then obviously then we've reacted okay to that goal going in because then obviously we've had the disallowed goal and then straight after obviously the Saka goal after the potential Kulusevski penalty. Which to me, I definitely thought it was at the time, but it's one of those I can sort of see the argument both ways. Then we're 2-0, and then obviously the 3-0 goes in, and you're thinking, oh, I'm fearing for the worst. But then the second half, actually, you've been a big talker, and I obviously won't talk on your behalf. You can say what you want, but I know you've said that you don't see Ange changing things up much, and he did make changes at half time, both in personnel and tactical tweaks, which is what we're going to touch on.
Okay.
And a bit of two things happened. That had a positive effect for us, but I also am not naive enough to think that Arsenal did not take their foot off the gas in that second half. It wasn't that it was down to us and us alone that we got the goals back and thought, oh, okay, we've got a bit of a comeback going on. But overall, Arsenal showed that they're a few years ahead of us in their journey compared to ours. We were very, very naive. We continue to make the same mistakes, and this is probably where we're leading on to the later debate about whether it's the manager or the players at this point. But I was generally more impressed than I thought I'd be about performance, but ultimately our Achilles heel came back to bite us. Big mistakes, big individual mistakes, and a bit of naivety, arguably with the tactics, but I think more on the players. But that's kind of my feeling. I was happy with the performance, but we killed our own selves with the goals we conceded, right? So that's kind of my initial thought. So obviously won't speak too long.
Fair enough. What we do, we go to your tactics bit in a minute. Still, quickly, I know you've said it 100 times or whatever, same as the pair of us, but for the sake of the show and the people and Dave, your opinion on the game, quickly.
Yeah, did a few shows building up to the game on different channels. There's actually a video on my channel that I reposted where I said 2 days before the game, Arsenal will not overrun us. They're not going to dominate the game. Spurs will give them a game, but ultimately, they're better than us. My heart says we'll get a draw, but they'll beat us 2-1. They'll beat us by 1 goal. And Ange's naivety of defensive tactics will cost us, and I can see us losing the game to set pieces. And that's exactly what happened. I wasn't surprised one bit. I was shocked we were 3-0 down. I wasn't shocked that we lost by 1 goal. But overall, I've seen enough to know. I've made up my mind. I don't need any more persuading or changing of my mind. And Andrew will be gone next season. The year after, he won't be here, and we'll be back to square one, in my view. And I'm not surprised because we'll get into why I'm not surprised in a bit more depth. But we lost this game for me purely because of our tactics. We gave it to Arsenal, and if we didn't play these tactics, For me, we definitely would have got a draw, and we might have even nicked a win. Because I thought we were unlucky with a couple of refereeing decisions, but I never use referees as an excuse because what goes around comes around. We got away with murder against Liverpool, so I'm not going to use excuses here.
That we did.
But if I'm being straight up fair, the referee did have an impact on this game. But listen, man, if you allow the referee to decide the outcome of a game, it's because you haven't done well enough as a team on the pitch, and I don't think we did. For all the possession we had, we did nothing with it. So, yeah, look. Our manager's approach to the game, and he cost us the game on Friday, by the way, when he announced to Arsenal that Ben Davies is going to start left back. You never
Wasn't
ever
intelligent,
give your opposition. Grassroots managers don't do that, Dan. Grassroots managers don't do that. So you've effectively said to Arsenal, you got 2 days to practice getting the ball to Saka in training and going one-on-one with a slow defender. You've literally gifted that to them. So we lost this tactically. And the tactics began on Friday in the press conference for me. Gutted, man.
On the mental side of it.
I'm gutted, bro, because I really wanted us to stop Arsenal winning the league, and now it's, anyway, it's done. It's over. We lost.
Okay, and I think everybody already knows my opinion on the game. We looked the better team at times, but when it come down to it, clinical, we just wouldn't understand it if it slapped us in the face at the moment. And it's all good having your 70% possession and everything else, but when you can't put it in the back of the fucking net, what does it actually matter? So, Dave, you got some points. Go for gold, mate. All down to you.
Yeah, no, I should have mentioned as well that, I didn't want to touch on the refereeing decisions either, still, because, you could argue they could have changed the game, right? And that goes from 1-1 to 2-0. It's a different vibe of the game. But I didn't really want to touch on that too much. Dan's obviously bringing, is it Dietrich's in?
Yeah, just a quick note. All right, Dietrich, how you doing, mate?
Good, how are you? How's everyone doing?
Same Spurs, different day. You know how it is, mate. Right. Yeah. So we're just getting to the point now where Dave is going to show us a few of the points he wants to make about the game. So go on, Dave, down to you, mate.
Yeah, obviously I'm still getting used to this. I should have been ready to show the first one. But yeah, so this is kind of how the game was tactically set up from the first half, the first period of the game. And, it's quite ironic that a 4-4-2's done us. But as you can see there, from a defensive shape, that's how Arsenal kind of defended against us. So, obviously they did plan for us. We'll go on to how that worked for them attacking, because obviously the Saka goal came down to the way they attacked. But this is how we set up to attack them. And obviously the big thing that we do, and I know we've talked about inverted fullbacks a lot, is we push Davis and Porro up to effectively be our 10s. And then look where our 10 Maddison drops to. So the idea being that obviously we play the high line. We know that. The three midfielders, including Maddison, have got a bit of mobility to rotate around. And we've had this discussion about needing an out-and-out number 6 that can see the logic behind it. But Ange doesn't play with the out-and-out 6. He plays with more of a fluid 3 in there that can swap and change. Their job is to get the ball off the defenders and get it forward to the attackers. And then obviously we keep the width through Kulusevski and Werner. But I found a lot in the first half of this was that we had a lot of good positions out wide, but you look in the box, and it's like, who are you putting it into? Because I'm sorry, but Son's not really a whip it in from wide kind of striker, right? He's someone that you want to slip in behind. Although he did have a glorious chance to score, and obviously I think that's the one time we did go direct. But that's kind of how we set up. And obviously you can see from that graphic alone, it's very easy to keep the ball from out wide to back again, to out wide, to back again, to out wide. It's very easy to keep the ball there. But we had no penetration in that final third. Whether that would be the ball weren't coming in, the run weren't being made. I don't think there was any movement in there. So when you talk about tactics versus individuals, it's like the manager can only do so much in terms of getting you in the position. It still then needs to be on the players' back to make the right decisions, the right passes, the right crosses at the right times. And sometimes you have an off day where it doesn't work, but we've seen it time and time again that our inability to sort of be penetrative around the final third when a team defends deep, and that's what Arsenal done with that 4-4-2. It was a very deep low contained sort of block, whatever you want to call it, and we could not break it down. So from a tactical point of view, that's where Mikel Arteta did win the game over Ange for us. But Ange has actually put us in a position to have these chances. So I still think there's a lot on the players there for, as I say, not putting that ball in early and not going a bit more direct at times, mixing it up. So I don't know what your the other three on here's views are on that tactics, but that's kind of how I saw how we attacked Arsenal, and we'll go on to how we defended and they attacked in a minute. But that's how I felt we was set up to attack. Got loads of the ball, just weren't no real penetration.
Well, that was definitely one of the main problems of the game, wasn't it? So, with what Dave's just said there, what do you two think on that?
What did we do to counter it? What did Ange do to counter it?
Oh, sorry, I didn't know if you was asking me the question there still, because obviously I was just the one talking about it. So.
Yeah, no, Dan's asking, what do you think about it? Like,
yeah,
that's I've seen that many a time where teams, they drop deeper and they put two banks of 4 in front of each other, or they put a bank of 4 and a bank of 5 in front of it. I mean, you could look at that as a 4-2-3-1 as well as a 4-4-2. Depends, because from a still frame, you look at it from one angle. But yeah, look, it could be a 4-4-2 as well. But either way, I've seen this 1,000 times against Spurs, where a team just says, "Do you know what? You can have possession." Imagine Arsenal, top of the league, saying, "You can have possession." Arsenal, who dominate the ball, even they played the same tactic everyone's done against us. So for me, what I think about it is, what did Ange do to adapt to that? Nothing. When he did finally adapt, 3-0 down. It's like, cheers, mate. So that's my frustration with this. And this is why I don't, there's things you could have done there. I would have dropped Sonny, drop back, put him as an extra body in midfield, almost as an attacking mid, a false 9. Could have got the fullbacks, one to drop a bit further back, only have one inverted. There's tweaks you could do, but he just refuses to do it. He's just hell-bent on his way or no other way ever. And that to me just proves we've been sussed out. And even a team that is go on.
Just a quick comeback, just a quick one. I'll let you continue. But so you obviously the Kulusevski goal, right? It was like a set piece, got cleared, and then Porro had the long range shot. Porro's just taking the initiative there to have a pop, a couple of rebounds, and we scored a goal that could or could not be an offside, depending on how you want to debate that. But the fact that it was just a player taking the initiative and having a shot, doing something differently. What's your view on that point? Are you thinking that Ange is definitely saying this is how we play, repetitive, and it will work? Or does he give players a bit of license to go, you know what, use your brain a bit out there? If you're seeing a gap here, go and get in that gap, and the players are not getting in that gap. Because obviously we don't know what he's been told on the training pitch or in the tactical session before the game, right? But do you reckon that he's telling them explicitly to play this way repetitively, or he's giving them a bit of license to have a bit of self creativity on the pitch, to have a long range shot every now and again, to go long every now and again? Because obviously Porro put the ball over the top for Son at one point. He only just done it once. So is your view that it's very much Ange is making them play this way over and over again, or do you reckon the players need to take a bit of blame for not being a little bit more taking the initiative? Is, I guess, the question I'm asking you.
It's both, because there's no doubt Ange allows players freedom, but at the same time, you never see an overlapping run on the wide areas. So they're being coached never to do that. So it's a bit of both. There are some elements of our progressive play where I feel Ange is saying, no, you don't have freedom to do that. There's other aspects, like you said, you're allowed to shoot from distance. But then the issue we've got with that is the 4 attackers that you've signed under your watch, whether it's Levy, Paratici, Scott Munn, Ange, God knows, but Ange said, it's on me. Beliz, not good enough, otherwise he'd be at the club right now. Solomon, injured, not your fault. Timo Werner and Johnson.
Okay. So you don't need to argue with me on that one. I think the only attacking player we should be keeping is Son. So
if you've got
Dietrich,
I agree.
Yeah, sorry.
I agree with you. Okay. I agree. Son's the only one.
Dietrich, what do you see on this?
Me, the only thing that I'm really shocked is the fact that I see Ben Davies higher up the pitch than Maddison. No, that is pathetic.
I think that's actually a pretty solid point.
Yeah. And one more thing, do you remember Dan in the past, like in past streams when he spoke about, do you know sometimes Maddison will just waste time just like trying to make a Hollywood pass instead of like just drilling and possibly getting a deflection or
We've
easy.
said that, innit? He has his
Yeah,
moments of like where you're like, okay, we know you're good in that, mate, but just make the bloody ball
yeah.
sort of
If
thing.
you
And he
look,
seems to always want to make it look good, doesn't he?
yeah. But then when you look at Poro, he just took the initiative, took a shot, got a lucky rebound, and not just had a one-on-one with the keeper and scored.
Hmm.
Sometimes you have to take initiative and just, you know what, just shoot the ball and you might get lucky. But we
So
never
with
do
what
that.
you're
If you do it, we do it like once every 10 games.
so with what you're basically saying there is you're sort of agreeing with Dave, like, come on, players,
Yeah,
like pull your finger out your ass and you use your initiative. You're
exactly.
meant to be professional Premier League football players.
Yeah. If you
Okay.
look at, for example, yeah, sometimes like we always want to just like take the ball, take it from one side and just like pass it in front of the net. Sometimes like just shoot and you might get lucky in life. But we
To
never
get a
do that.
chance, you got to make a chance. To make a chance,
Exactly.
exactly. To get a chance, you got to make that bloody chance. And we don't seem to
The
flipping
only time
do
we
it,
did
do
it
we?
was Liverpool. Do you remember the own goal of John
Yeah, yeah,
Manson? That's the only time we
yeah,
took initiative in
yeah.
this
I
game.
agree with that. Okay, so Dave, over to your next bit, mate. Go for it.
So just on the flip side of that, and I will get to what Ange changed in the second half, because he did
Okay.
change the tactics in the second half. But Estelle kind of quickly commented, well, we're 3-0 down at that point, right? He could have done it a lot earlier. But obviously defensively, and this is what we're all talking about, right? And this is the one that I do really feel that Ange needs to take the massive sort of hit for here, because look, I mean, we're looking at probably one of the best right-sided sort of inside forwards, if that's what you want to call Saka, in world football. As much as he's an Arsenal player, I can't dismiss how good the player is, and we're
He's a
sitting
quality
there.
player.
Yeah, and look at the space we're leaving him, and look where sort of Davis is from that point as well, right? And that's the bit that really concerns me, is because we no one needs to be a football expert to know that Saka against Davis is probably going to be our weak point. And Arsenal, to be fair to them, they did change their tactics. They went a bit more direct against us, as this kind of little overlay shows, right? So Havertz was dropping in deep to drag the defence out. Saka and Trossard are saying like old-fashioned 4-4-2 wingers. And bearing in mind that I think they're just changed from being defensive. They've just won the ball. That's why it looks a bit more like a 4-4-2, but with Havertz has just dropped there. But going forward, they were back to more of a traditional 4-3-3. It was just defensively they were setting up in a 4-4-2. And again, give Arteta credit there, but this is the bit where Ange, how can you defend this? I mean, that is just frightening. It's giving me making me feel nervous just looking at.
I mean, what is Ben Davis doing in the middle of the bloody pitch? He's there because he's been told to play as an inverted wing back, isn't it? But he should have the initiative. Like, hang on a minute, it's open.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those. So as a defence, you do tighten up, you do go more compact, but that just scares me in the sense that Saka's been given that much license. It's like, oh, we don't care about him having space out wide there. And a lot of the time, you do treat wingers like that. They can have the space because the ball's got to travel over there. It gives us time to get out to them. But that's a criminal amount of space, right? I mean, that's just one simple ball from the name that won't be mentioned in the centre there. And I know he went to Odegaard in the end, who made a good run in that point. But the fact that Saka's always open there, and then he's going to be one-on-one with Davis, and that's the bit that scares the living daylights out of me. Because when we talk about this before, right, with me and you, Dan, specifically, I'm talking about, because we've discussed the Ange tactics and whether he adapts or not. That's the bit I think and we said before the game, didn't we? This would be a good test to see how he adapts for specific opponents. And I think we got our answer. Yeah, and I think we get our answer there is he will start the game with his tactics, but he's willing to adapt little bits within the game afterwards. And that's fine if that's your philosophy, but that's the one I would have changed pre-match. I would have maybe gone, Ben Davis, you're not as good as a doggy to do everything I ask a doggy to do. So you just more of a traditional left back today because you're up against one of their best players in Saka.
And then and then basically when Porro goes inverted, they go over to a 3 at the back to tighten it up. That's what I was screaming for Ange to do. Same and Stel Dietrichs.
I'm actually not. Sorry, Dietrich, you want to go first?
Oh yeah, no, just quickly. I just wanted to add something. Do you remember when we used to talk about Kulusevski's main attribute on this team? Like he always tracks back. Why is Werner like on no man's land? Why is he not tracking back Saka? Who is he defending?
That's very true. That's true.
Like you see that Romero's out of position, Van de Ven is covering the middle, and Ben Davies is covering Odegaard. Why is Werner not covering Saka?
The only thing I can answer to that is because he's been told to look after Ben White and Ben White only. But again, that goes to the argument that you kind of use your initiative as a player on the pitch to sit there and go, I can see Saka's
Exactly.
free and Davies is not there, so I'm going to go back and get Saka because Saka's
Yeah,
free and he's closer to the goal, right? I see what you're saying, and I agree with it.
It's
that's the
true.
only thing.
Still,
I'm not actually worried about this. I'll tell you why I'm not. I get David's concern though, but I'm not as worried. And I'll tell you why. If you put the image back up,
Yep.
That's not a high line for me. That's like a medium level mid block.
Yeah, I think we just lost the ball at that point, if my memory serves me right as well. But anyway, that's probably not.
For me, that's okay as long as you play the offside trap. Aston Villa are pretty good at this. When they get caught out, they get caught out, but they're not too bad at this. Here, we just need to stay on the side. And I think we look like we are just about.
Yeah, no, I think that was offside just. It was one where the lino actually flagged early, wasn't it?
Yeah. So and
That's
the reason
right,
I'm not worried
yeah.
about it is because, So for me, this isn't a problem. With Saka being out wide in acres of space, I'm not too worried, and I'll tell you why. By the time the ball travels over there, Davies has got time to shuffle over, and then Van de Ven just marks Odegaard, which isn't a difficult thing. The distance between... But my concern is when the distance between the centre-backs is massive, which it's not. So I know we can recover this.
Yeah.
But
and
if this was on the halfway line, I'd 100% agree with David. I'd say, whoa.
Yeah, you won't like the next slide then.
Yeah. So this one, I get the concern, but it's manageable.
Yeah, to be fair, the actual still here is showing more the tactics, the way that the Havertz dropping kind of had an effect with Romero, the Van de Ven, and therefore Davis. That's kind of why I was showing that. It's not maybe this specific picture is saying Saka's in a lot of dangerous positions generally. That's more what...
David, the issue we got here is, I don't know who the white shirt in the middle of the park is, just outside the semicircle. The centre circle.
James Maddison, I believe. The one next to the 29 Havertz word.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay. What the hell is he doing is my question. At least Werner, you could say he's got one eye on Ben White. So maybe if they intercept the ball, he's ready for a transition. But Maddison, I don't get it.
Yeah, and to be fair, Maddison can get in a lot of criticism from me for that game as well, because I thought it was pretty ineffective. And again, it's not really done much defensively there either, right? Yeah. But yeah, just to go on to then the next slide where it becomes the issue where we're talking about the high line, but this was the counter attack, right? So we're obviously pushed up the pitch attacking. Now, I don't know if anyone, I mean, we know that did anyone see the view that Sky put on where it was from Arsenal's goal perspective looking towards the Tottenham goal? So it was behind their counter attack looking directly at our goal. I don't know if you saw that view, because that highlights the point I'm about to make. So if you haven't seen it, I'll try and describe it in a little bit more detail. But if you have seen it, then obviously it makes more sense. But it was basically Højbjerg. He was initially very, very close to Saka, and he decided not to sprint back with him. That was the first thing that really pissed me off about that. Obviously, not how the counter-attack started in the first place as well, but by that point it started, was that Højbjerg was pretty, not level with Saka, but he was only a couple of yards away from Saka, and he was jogging. And obviously, we know Højbjerg's not the quickest anyway, so Saka could probably still got away from him. But it was the point he was kind of jogging and kind of just went, he put his arm out and just went to someone else. But I think Højbjerg actually had an okay game for the rest of it, so I don't want to be too harsh on him. But then the other issue that I have with this is the Davis defending, because he gets dragged out wide. Like, so I say from this view that you could see it, his first run was to the right, not to the left. And if you look at this still here, why would he be going to the right? There's no reason for him. So by the time he's done that, then Saka's in a lot more space than he otherwise would have been. And therefore, Davis is sprinting to get back, has to stop and then turn and go the other way, which he cannot physically do. Saka then cuts inside, puts it in. And so Davis, for me, gets a lot of blame for how he defended that. But also, I don't know if anyone else saw that view that I'm talking about, where they saw Højbjerg just go, meh. And he put his arms up like that and said, do you see it as well, Dietrich?
Yeah, I saw it. From my feed, like they showed from both angles, and it was pretty pathetic.
So yeah, I mean that's my view on it. I mean that's where the two bits of bad defending in this. Obviously, the fact that we lost the ball in the first place isn't great as well, but that happens in football, right? It's how you deal with things happening like that on the pitch that makes you a good defender.
Exactly.
And I think this just shows up. This is where we need to be ruthless in the summer. We need to go to Ben Davies. Thank you for us as a squad member, but we need to be ruthless and move forward because our backup left back needs to be better. It needs to be competition through Doggy. It can't be a drop-off in quality. And Davis just showed that. He's a nice bloke. I'm sure he's great around the place, but we need to be ruthless and get rid of this level of quality and improve the quality in the team. That's my view on it.
Without a doubt. I mean, that whole team. Go on, Dietrich. Go on, mate.
Yeah, can I just add something on? If you look carefully at the picture, there's one problem I have. No one defender is looking at their man. Everyone's looking at the ball. Look at Van de Ven, look at Romero, look at everyone.
Yeah. Sorry, that's a great point as well, yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody looking at their man. Look at Ben Davies. Why are you looking at Havertz? Look at Saka. He's your main man. Havertz cannot score from that position. Just follow your man.
Basically,
It's basics of football that nobody looks.
Who's that standing next to Van de Ven?
That is Ben Davies. That's what I'm saying. He went right when he should have been going left. And that's what I found absolutely baffling.
It looks like he wants to hold Van de Ven's hand.
Yeah.
Probably does.
See, the issue I've got here is two things. One, this is such a flaw I see with the way we defend, and this actually has got nothing to do with the wing backs. Look at the amount of times you see the distance between our centre backs when these things happen. Romero, to me, he's almost in the right back position.
Yeah,
right. That should not be happening. The amount of times I talk about distance between centre backs, we get pulled out of shape. This happens all the time, and then that puts the pressure on the wing backs and on the team. But it's the others that are putting the pressure on the centre backs. This system is not healthy for our centre backs. And then I agree, Ben Davies shouldn't be at Spurs. I don't understand why he's still here. 9 years of failure with him. He shouldn't be at the club. But at the same time, I've seen these same problems happen, and we get caught out when Udogi's on the pitch. Udogi's better, don't get me wrong. But even our good wing backs get caught out because of the way we play this system. It's for me, it's flawed the way we play it because there's no protection in front of them. The centre backs always get pulled apart. And where was Porro in that, by the way? Just out of curiosity.
So I think he's the one tucked in just to the left of where Romero is. I don't know why I'm trying to point to it like you can see what I'm doing.
Yeah, so we've got two players. So I'm guessing Trossard must have passed the ball back to Havertz then, if they're both over there.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, the Davies has to be touch tight on Saka. He has to be.
No, but the most logical thing would be playing a 3 centre back if you give the freedom to of your centre backs to just like stay out of position. That would be the smartest thing to do going forward.
Yeah, so that you could see that as soon as the counter-attack was developing, you could see the goal. And the ball was still in their half. And I think that's what we're all agreeing on. That's what scares us the most.
David, all week on YouTube, the most common thing I heard from everyone, right, no matter what you think of Spurs, is, oh God, Saka v Davies were fucked. And literally, that exactly is what happened. It's like, I wonder how that occurred. Literally everyone said it. Everyone was saying it.
No, and everyone even said exactly how the goal was going to bloody happen, didn't they? And it happened literally pinpoint how nearly everybody said it.
No, but what's bothering me was that the same goal happened with Anthony Gordon. We had 2 weeks to fix that issue, and it happened again.
It seems it keeps happening in quite a few other games, doesn't it?
It would always happen. Ange isn't going to change it, dude. He's not. And
against Chelsea, it's going to be a lot worse.
Especially if Palmer's out there on the right hand side, that's going to be deadly.
Mate, if you think Saka rip Davies, you watch what Palmer does to him.
Yeah. And the other thing as well about Davies, because obviously we don't want to go too long on these, but the other thing as well, it took him about 70 minutes of the game before he actually went through Saka. Like I'm not saying go out and hurt players. I'm not saying that. I'm not.
No, but go out and rough them up. That's what
I am. It's North London derby. I'll say it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. but it took him, and because he done it twice in about 20 seconds, didn't he? And got the yellow card. But yeah, don't do that early. No, let Saka know you're there. So Saka's got it in his head. Then he's like, he's going to go for me.
That is why I wanted Højbjerg to start, because I thought if we've got quite a soppy midfield, and I thought if anyone can go on there and get stuck into Odegaard and really not care about doing it, I thought Højbjerg is our man to do it. I didn't want Højbjerg there to really play football. I wanted Højbjerg to go on there and take out Odegaard to the point where he was going to be scared when he had the ball that he was going to get done, basically. And a lot of other teams do it with Arsenal. Take Saka straight out or Odegaard, let them know that they're there. Yes, Arsenal still go and win, but they let them know they're there. They do it with us with Maddison. Nearly every team does it 9 times out of 10. Straight away, bang out Maddison and take it from there.
Van, about 3 weeks ago, Thomas Tuchel showed the world, this is how you stop Saka. This is how you nullify Arsenal, right? He did it in the Allianz Arena. And he had a left back who was suspended, a good left back, Alphonso Davies. He had to bring in a player,
Mazraoui,
out of the squad,
Moroccan.
play. What did he do? He doubled up on Saka and then nullified him. Okay. He showed everyone that's how you do it. Our manager, it's who we are, mate. We're not gonna, everyone's copied the blueprint to beat Spurs. Every club's now copying it. We don't copy anyone else because we know best. This is why our season's collapsing, and it's going to continue to collapse. This manager is inept. I don't blame him, though. I never blame managers. At the end of the day, there's a much bigger reason, which we might touch on. But defensively, this guy's clueless, man.
Yeah.
He's not going to change.
What did he change is the next... Oh, sorry, Dietrich, it's gone.
No, I'm just saying, I just want to argue Stelios' point. How can you not blame him, but he doesn't care about the defense aspect of the game?
I don't blame him. I don't blame him because he never knocked.
I blame him for playing Ben Davies instead of Dragusin. I blame him for that.
I don't blame him ultimately, Dietrich, because he never knocked on the front door saying, "Are there any vacancies at the club? Here's my CV. Does it meet your requirements?" We've gone and headhunted him. We've gone and selected him for a reason. We have chosen him to be the manager. He never chose us. We chose him. So blame him all you want. He's doing the best he can.
No,
right?
He's not.
This is what he does.
No, he's not.
What do you mean?
Everyone said play Dragusin, Van de Ven, and 3 centre backs, but
but you're not him, though. I said he's doing the best he can. This is what he thinks is best.
Yeah, but clearly he's not good.
Yeah, but it's not his fault. He never applied for the job. He was headhunted. It's like me saying to you, Dietrich, I want you to be part of my channel. Come and join me. Be part of Tottenham Away. And then you're really crap at it. And then I blame you for being crap. Well, I chose you. I picked you.
I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, I blame Ange for the decisions he makes. But ultimately, why is he at Spurs? Why is he the manager we chose? That's the point I'm making.
No, I agree on that one, but obviously I agree with Dietrich as well. Like, well, Ange, if you couldn't work out that Saka was going to absolutely roast Ben Davies, then I think we might have a problem. So you're definitely both right there. And that's all there is to it on that one, really. Dave.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to disagree with those points just mentioned. The only crumb of backup for Ange I will give, if our attacking players do their job better, then we're ahead of the game before those goals happen, so I know that's an if, and that's a big if, but that doesn't fall down to Ange, that he hasn't got the quality in that final third to do better in the positions his tactics get them in.
David, do you not agree then? Do you not agree? I want to ask David a question then. Do you not agree that we are so heavily dependent on the attack working? We are so heavily reliant on our attack being clinical and being creative. Then one, why did you sign off on the attackers that you have brought in who aren't clinical, especially against the top 10? And secondly, as a seasoned pro manager, sometimes it's just not going to click, or sometimes we're going to have a bad day at the office, or sometimes whatever reason, the other team just seem a bit more motivated than us. You need to adapt. That's where the Ancelottis, the Mourinhos, the
Peps, Klopps,
they've made their money. They've earned their money because they read it and they say, right, chess pieces, let's move a few. He just seems very reluctant to do it when it's bloody obvious what's going wrong early on. And he's got away with it against the lesser teams, right? Bring on Brennan Johnson, bit of pace, bring on change the midfield, raise the energy levels. And against the Crystal Palace, against the Burnley, against the Sheffield United, sod it. Even against maybe a mid-table team like I was going to say Fulham and Wolves, we lost to them as well. But you get my drift. Against those teams, you'll pull it out the bag. When you're up against a team that's decent,
fighting for the title,
who've got a good defence.
So to answer your first bit about the signing, so I remember having my first debate with you, Stel, and I was like, he's getting the players he wants, and you kind of proved me wrong on that. And I kind of come around to your way of thinking that he actually didn't sign off on those players properly. So that's probably the issue that we was talking about that night with the Levo, right? So, But to Ange's credit, and I was reading a piece, and I wish I'd actually brought the stats up for this now, about how, and I know it's a completely different level when you're talking about Celtic compared to Tottenham in the Premier League, right? Because the Premier League is a vastly different beast. And Tottenham are obviously not as big as Celtic compared to the rest of the Scottish League, right? But his improvements on his errors season on season were really, really good. Okay, so I'm still of the believing that he does see things. He can't do a lot now, but he will do over time. I'm not totally blind to the fact that he's had his flaws on that, but I still think tactically, and the stats back this up, that he got the team set up in a way that should have done more in the opposition's goal. Basically, we should have scored more than them, but we didn't. But to Ange's credit, I will bring up this one, because what he did tweak, and this is where me and you have had this discussion in the past, Dan, he makes small tweaks, and I've always been adamant that he makes small tweaks that when you're watching a game live, you don't always necessarily notice at first. But this was the tactical change that he made, and a big difference you can see from this still, and I know it's a still, but the big difference you can see from this is compared to the one in the first half where we had our two fullbacks as basically our number 10s, we've got our two midfielders as the number 10s, which then forced Arsenal even further back and created an extra bit of space more deeper for Porro and Davis to pick the ball up where they are there, get the ball out wide quicker, and we actually got some success from a positional point of view on that. Again, we still had issues with our delivery. We still had issues with our creativity from that point forward. But that is Ange being proactive at half time. I agree with the argument. You're already 3-0 down there, so it's a bit too late to be doing that. But these are the tweaks he makes within a game, okay? So it's, when people talk about formations of things, it's more just little, rather than being in this sort of 5-yard pocket, go and sit in that 5-yard pocket of space. And it just creates different angles, different problems, and it makes the opposition think differently. And we did get success. I'm going to caveat that point with the fact that I think Arsenal took their foot off the gas a bit in the second half. I don't think
blatantly did.
Yeah, I don't think the change, like, because we beat them 2-0 in the second half, right? But the actual still here doesn't actually show the subs, which was the next set of changes. So it's obviously the Richarlison, Sonny going out wide. And as soon as we made that change, we kept the tactics the same as this screen. But when we made the substitutions, we immediately got the goal. Now, I don't think this had anything to do with Ange. I just think Christian Romero and a bit of Porro is probably the only player in that team who will go, sod it, I'm going and do something different. And obviously, if you all remember, Romero chasing the bloody goalkeeper. I mean, it's absolute madness. But you know what? Him doing something different compared to the rest of the tactics completely surprised Arsenal. I still think, obviously, it's a massive goalkeeping error, right? But the fact that he was just there kind of just caused a bit of chaos. But that's what he did change in the second half. And it did work because we won the second half 2-0. But massive caveat that I think Arsenal took their foot off their gas a bit. So
completely. They got complacent with that, mate. Completely complacent. And with that one, it is purely down to Arsenal's complacency that we got back into that game, is the way I see that one. A total mistake.
Dan, I don't think they were totally complacent. I think they were complacent
at one point. To some degree.
Yeah, to some degree, I do concede that. But I feel that in general, their tactic was just, let them have the ball. We're happy to sit back a bit in this game because we've seen the blueprint of how to beat Spurs. Like the last time Arsenal has such low possession in a game, It was ridiculous how low their possession was when they went away to the Etihad.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was a tactic. What Arsenal did was a tactical ploy, and I think we're being generous. We're saying that, we dominate possession. Arsenal were a bit complacent, and we pushed them back. I don't think so. I think this was their tactic, because this is the blueprint of how to beat Spurs. Let them have the ball. Just make sure we're defensively structured. Let them have it, and we'll pounce.
And I don't disagree with that, Stel. I'm just saying that's what Ange done to try and counteract that in the second half, and we did get more successful.
I was just going to what Dan said. Because I've heard a few fans say that they feel that. Listen, I might not be right. It's just my opinion. I don't want to. I'm no guru on this, but I feel that. I think in reflection, in the moment, I thought, Spurs were on and on. Because I was in the stadium, the emotions going, the adrenaline's pumping, the comebacks on. But in reflection, looking back at it, doing some shows, watching YouTube, watching your slides, I think Arsenal did a number on us, man. I think they just did what all the other teams have done and said, you know what, have the ball. Because you know what?
Same as Newcastle.
But we got you.
Fulham.
1 or 2 balls over the top, we'll put one in the back of the net. And as long as defensively we're as good as we normally are, you ain't going to put 3 past us.
Stelios, nobody predicted that they would sit back and have little possession. We all knew they're gonna do long balls, but nobody predicted they're gonna sit back.
Well, I did say they're not going to batter us. They're not going to come and just dominate the game like that. But you're right. I didn't predict they would be sitting back as that. But you know what? Arteta's clearly said, right, Fulham did them, Wolves did them, Brighton took one, put one on them, Newcastle. I'll be an idiot not to take something from that. I'll be stupid not to look at that and say, because I went toe to toe with them at the Emirates. What happened? 2-2. I should have lost it, really. I went toe to toe with them. So this time, let me look what the others have done that have beaten them in recent time. I actually think they did a number on us, man.
Yeah, no, I agree with you still. And at the top of the show, I did say that's where Mikel Arteta won the game, because there's one of the first.
You did say that. You did, yeah.
The deep 4-4-2 sucking us in and then hitting us long. They played a lot more longer balls, which we all expected, right? So yeah, Arteta, but he's also, as I say, I can't remember how many years he's been there now, but he's fully aware of his players. He's built the squad to what he needs. He's got the tools to sit there and adapt, I think. He knows his plans. And he probably is generally a more proactive manager than Ange as well. I'll give him that. In terms of thinking, because obviously he's had the Pep thinking as well. And Pep's always been a little bit crazy, a little bit out the box, when it comes to tactical ideas. Whereas Ange, I think, is more of a style of play rather than, tactical shapes as such. But I'm just giving Ange a bit of credit in the sense that he did make changes and they did have a positive effect. I'm just not giving him all the credit for it, because I still think it was a bit of Arsenal complacency. And as you rightly say, Stel, that Arsenal were probably quite happy sitting deep anyway. But we did cause them more problems in the second half, particularly when Richie came on. And I thought Richie just I know he's got.
He should have started
tactics.
He should have started.
Yeah, he might not have been fully fit for 90. Who knows? But the fact that he's just gone, because obviously he's Brazilian as well. So he's what's his name, the centre back at Arsenal. In fact,
Gabriel. Sorry. Gabriel.
Yeah. And he's just got straight after, I think, the first goal that we pulled back, and he's just gone straight into it. Looked like nearly a net flying headbutt on the fella, and it's his international teammate. And I just thought, that
was
little
his
bit
shoulder,
of
wasn't it? Because first off, they were saying, was that a red card? And then
because Gary Neville was giving it that.
Went for him.
I don't like that.
That's right.
Thing. Yeah,
that's right.
But I just thought we looked better from the point Richarlison came on. Was just the point where I came round to him. But that was more just energy, and Richarlison, what I love about him is his chaos mentality. It's just he causes chaos. He's not the best of footballers. I would never defend him on that, but he just causes chaos. And at that point, that's what we needed a bit of, just something to break up this mold of them sitting back, soaking up the pressure, that tap, tap, tap it around the box, tap, tap back again. Every time I was just sitting there whinging all game, going, right, we've got down. The amount of sort of mini counter-attacks we had on them, turned round, balls ended up back at our centre-backs. That's the bit that was really getting my goat, because I'm thinking the players need to take initiative here. Be braver. Go and take that man on. Put the ball in the box. Only caveat to that, what I did say earlier, was the fact that you're putting the ball in the box to Son. And that's not Son's quality, right? Putting floated crosses in or whipped in crosses. You want the ball in front of him. But I just think
crosses were poor on the day. Yeah. They were all floated in. Plenty of time for the goalkeeper to read the flight of the ball. Nothing was whipped in with zip. Nothing was drilled into the
three of them. where the goalkeeper
ground.
just sort of came out, and he ain't the biggest fella, and he just sort of came out and just went, "Thank you."
They're all floaters. They just floated them in. You know, it was poor.
Yeah,
that's why I'm not one of the fans that's saying, yeah, Brennan Johnson done good when he come on. No, he did not. Brennan Johnson, it was nothing. It was just a bundle of energy with no output, no productivity to it.
But one that played
In my
well
opinion,
for me,
in my opinion.
one that played well for me, but like he's still crap, is Richarlison. He's the only one that showed passion when he came on.
Romero.
I thought Kulu gave.
I thought Kulu had an alright game as well.
Coming off the bench.
That's the best I've seen of
showed
Basuma for the last 5
Yeah,
months.
Basuma too.
But out of that whole game, the two players that I saw through the game give it their all was Romero, goes without a doubt.
Yeah,
Kulusevski definitely had one of his
Romero's
better games.
top.
Vicario had a good game.
And the reason I wanted, and everybody knows, I don't rate Richarlison, but the reason I wanted Højbjerg, Kulusevski, and Richarlison on there was basically for what you said, Dave, the chaos theory, that get stuck into it. Because out of our whole team, them Romero, Højbjerg, Richarlison, they're the main three that will cause a bit of chaos on there, that will get stuck in. And also Kulusevski, I would have liked him as a number 10 role to play with more back to goal sort of thing and hold that ball up through whoever comes past him. And I think we could have got more out of it with that on the physical side of Kulusevski, because their whole team basically, they haven't really got a chaos player, have they? I mean, Declan Rice gets stuck in. He's got the bottle to do it, but he's not exactly scary, is he? As such.
You see Declan Rice. Do you remember when Arsenal played West Ham? I think it was December or January. December. And West Ham beat them at the Emirates. I think it was 2-3-0 in the end. And West Ham had a penalty right at the end, and they missed the penalty. And it was Declan Rice that gave away the penalty. Okay, West Ham, they rattled Arsenal. Rice was rattled, and that's why he gave that penalty away. He was completely triggered. And you rarely see Declan Rice like that. Declan Rice gave another penalty away against Spurs when he kicked Ben Davies. And that's not like Declan Rice. But I think Richarlison, he rattled Declan Rice in that game. He was in his ear a lot. It was just giving him just shit. And I think when you're rattled and you're not in a composed state, you lose focus. You do things in a game that you don't normally do, like what Declan Rice did. Because the last time I saw him do that was against West Ham. West Ham rattled him. And I think Richarlison, although he wasn't involved in the penalty situation, I think he's got a part to play in it, because I think he caused Declan Rice to not be the quality player he was all season. And he just lost a bit of composure, because for 10, 15 minutes before that, Richarlison was running him ragged upstairs. So,
but that's why I wanted a midfield of Lo Celso, Madison, and Bentancur, because I know Lo Celso's going to give us like that.
Do you know what, Dietrich? I agree with you on that Lo Celso shot for this game alone. Me and Dan spoke about this. So sorry, carry on. But I agree with the Lo Celso.
No, if you would have put Lo Celso, Richarlison for this game specifically, like that's the kind of game that we need those like shithousery at their best.
Yeah.
And look what happened against
like what Ben White was doing to us.
Even Gabriel lost his mind against Richarlison, like when he came on.
I mean, what do you remember, Dietrich and you still? What did I say? I wanted Richarlison on there because he can piss anybody off.
Yeah,
that is one thing he can do. I don't rate him as a player, but this would have been the perfect game for him. I mean, as soon as he came on, he started pissing them off.
Yeah, and I don't think Lo Celso's good enough for this club, by the way. I'd get rid of him at the end of the season. But just for this game and the way Maddison was playing, that's why I agree with Dietrich on the Lo Celso to shout, just because he would have been that style of energy. But long term, I don't rate him. But yeah, sorry, still, I think he was about to come in.
That's all right. I was going to ask, could you bring up Scott Nelson's comment at 0853? Where he says, Stelios, you are wrong. Declan Rice wasn't rattled, but he was frustrated that we missed 100 chances against West Ham. Mate, you were 2-0 down at home. Now, if you were 2-0 down because you missed those 100 chances, then that explains why you're 2-0 down. But you were 2-0 down, and that's what rattled him, the fact that you were losing that game. It could be because you weren't taking your chances and West Ham were taking theirs. But either way, He was rattled by the way the direction of that game. So I'm not wrong, because he never gives away those. It was an innocuous foul that he gave away. It was bonkers, that challenge he made. I remember it. So again, look, opinions, you're allowed to have your opinions, but whether you want to call it rattled, frustrated, whatever it may be, up here he wasn't. That focus had been, he lost focus.
And I want to give a final caveat to the fact about this chaos theory as well. It's hard to do that for 90 minutes, and Arsenal probably would have adapted at some point. It's a bit easier to come on, with 20, 30 minutes to go and play like that, right? And cause a bit of mayhem. But if you're doing that for 90 minutes, then tactically that's not going to work in the long term, right? But I just feel, it's a derby. You just want that extra bit of energy. But I think we'll all agree, and I don't want to speak out, Anne, so please disagree if you do, but I think we'll all agree that even though we was getting back in the game through, obviously, that error from Raya, and obviously the penalty, creative wise, we wasn't great for that last 20 minutes. It never really felt we was going to create a chance to equalize. It was more put the ball in the box and hope something happens. That's how I felt.
David, the only time we created a chance was the long ball from Poro to Son.
Yeah.
And then he missed the kick. That's the only one we created that was a clear-cut chance.
It was where he got in between them, wasn't it? And got through them and then just skied it, didn't he? And off Son, you expect better.
Oh, and what's his name? Madison to Romero with the header off the post. Those are the only two chances we created. The rest...
Yeah. Was the Romero one from a set piece, though? The
no,
header, I think. Was it?
I think it was a pass that Madison just...
No, I think what happened was it was a set piece, got cleared, then went back in. That's why Romero was up there. Yeah. But I think we'll all agree that we didn't create much, though. That's an easy argument. Yeah.
No, we did not. We haven't got much who can create. If Madison's not creating, then there's no creativity there whatsoever, basically, unless someone just has a lucky kick.
Mate, Arsenal just played 4 bloody games, right? Big games, and
true.
They're not at maximum energy. We've had a 2-week break, and we couldn't take the game to them. Like, we couldn't just be quicker at the passing of the ball. We couldn't be quicker with our movement off the ball. We couldn't cut them open. It was honestly our lack of ability to create is unacceptable in that game. And we've got the 12th man, and we're at home. Everything was in our favour to at least get into them. We caused more damage at their ground when we played them than what we did at ours.
Than we did at our own.
Yeah, and the frustrating thing about that still is I thought we'd get overrun in that midfield physically and football.
We didn't.
I thought our midfield actually won their 50-50 battles really well. It was just as you say, when we go to the final third, the passing then just switches off. So that's the one for me where is it a tactical thing? So Ange did change it, but too late. I think it's obvious at 3-0 it is kind of too late at that point, but he did change his tactics. But Arteta won the battle tactically. But I'm not massively surprised by that because Arteta's much more feet under the door, his squad, his tools. He knows what he can and can't adapt. Whereas I think Ange is very much, I'm building a style of play. I'm getting it ingrained into the players at this point. So it's repeat. And then gradually over time, get those better quality players in to do it. But obviously that's a completely different bait. But that's kind of that for the tactical. And I just want to throw a little curveball question out, Dan. Sorry, I don't think you was just about to do this, but just a little curveball because it came up about 10 minutes ago. And I was like, I want to remember to ask this. Hypothetically, if I come to you and say, our new captain is Christian Romero and not Son, where are we going on that? Because I've got a feeling, now that I trust Romero a little bit more this season, he's a bit less reckless than he has been. I think he's more captain material and more suited to being captain for this team than Sonny. And that's nothing against
100%.
Sonny. That's more me thinking Romero's
That's just a fact. With that one, mate, at the start when people were talking about captains, I was very sceptical of putting Romero as captain because at times he was a bit of a liability. But the more and more I've listened to other people and the more and more I've thought about it myself, I've sort of contradicted myself the whole time because I've always said I want my captain to be a Roy Keane. I want my captain to be a Patrick Vieira. I want my captain to be a John Terry. I want my captain to do my work on the pitch, go and slap the player in the face that ain't doing his job properly, not smack him on the arse. And I've sort of thought about it. And the other day it just sort of clicked in when I watched it. I thought, Dan, you just You've been contradicting yourself the whole fucking time.
Yeah,
Romero
'cause
is my perfect captain.
even
And
him
the only
chasing
thing that
down
stopped
Raya,
me thinking it, Dave, the only thing that stopped me ever thinking it was of how much of a liability he can be in a massive game. And I think when he done that with Chelsea, that pissed me right off. But he's the sort of captain I've been screaming out for the whole time. It's been on the plate and I haven't even fucking realised it. And it's been right under my nose.
yeah, I mean, he's a World
Romero
Cup
is
winner,
the
right?
captain material. He's the captain material. Son is not a captain. He's not.
And
Dietrich,
sorry, someone's put in another little curveball. So Pipe 71 has just gone. I'd have Van der Ven as captain. I'll just quickly reply that I think he is a future captain. Whether he's ready yet, I don't know. But he looks like he could be a captain. So yeah, I'd prefer Romero and Van der Ven, or Van der Ven, sorry, over Son. And to agree with that, but I think Romero won. But sorry, Dietrich, I'll just cut in there.
No, me and Dan and Stel, like we spoke about it like on past streams. I've always said for me, Son was the only way he got the captaincy was more of a PR style move, in my opinion. Nothing against the bloke, he's a phenomenal like off the field person, but on the field, I think he's one of the worst captains we ever had. The only one that I've always said like for me he's the perfect match for a captain is Vicario, but I don't like my keepers to be captains. That's just a personal opinion. So that's why I only say like the closest one to Vicario is Romero that we have on the team. It could have been Madison, but unfortunately Madison has been crap for 8 months. So it has to be Romero going forward.
And still, your opinion on that one?
I'm going to be honest, at the start of the season, I wanted Basuma, so it shows I know nothing about captains. I'm not going to lie. I did. I wanted Basuma, so...
I said Basuma was better than Benton Core.
I didn't go that far.
Again.
To be fair, I think Benton Core, when he's fully fit, is in for a shout of captaincy because I think he's got the materials. It's certainly better to be captain than Son. Whether he's the best one, I don't know, but I think Benton Core's a shout as well.
I think.
So would you have as captain then? Still, before I get to the next bit, quick, because I've only got 20 minutes left, 25, unless Dave, you wish to carry on with these three. That's
yeah, sure. I think you've got to look at the worst result of the season and ask yourself who stepped up when the shit was really going wrong. So Newcastle away is probably the worst I've seen this season, 4-0. I don't know anyone that stepped up in that game. I don't know if anyone is captain material in our team, if I'm honest with you. Because
Romero
it's great.
is looking at it.
Really? Where was he against Newcastle?
All 4 of those goals, he wasn't even on the scene, was he?
He has 6
goals. I'm talking about his personality.
He has more goals than
I know, but I think a captain is someone that grabs you by the scruff of the neck, raises you when you're up against it. So I'm thinking the games we've been up against this year, who's stepped up? And I don't know if anyone ever has. That's when you really see someone's character, isn't it?
I can see where you're coming from, but definitely as it's gone on, I think Romero is definitely more, or Vicario is definitely more captain material than Son. Right, just
Vicario can't even push off Ben White off him when he's pulling his glove.
Yeah, but in other ways, he's got it, hasn't he? It's frustrating to say the least.
I don't think. Do you know what? Actually, this is my answer. I don't think we've got a captain at the club. I don't think we've got anyone of the minerals. Romero is probably the closest to it, but I'm not sure he's captain material. I could be wrong.
Right. So, question from Tony Rodriguez for the panel: would Poch have done a better job with this team than Ange is doing at the moment?
100%.
It depends how much time you're giving him because Poch takes a while to get going. If you remember rightly, he took a long time to start getting going at Spurs. And as you see with Chelsea now, he's not an instant kind of manager. So if you're saying at this point at the time, he's probably just doing as bad as Ange. And it depends what you say, in terms of league position, or we're talking style of play and things like that. But
David, with this goalie, with the wing backs we've got and these 2 centre backs, do you not think we'd be better organised?
But let me ask you, still
the way Rose and Kyle Walker play, we'd have more of that type of play than the inverted business.
But let me ask you this question, still. What is your definition? What is his definition and your definition of a better job? Is it winning trophies? Is it winning games? What is it? Better job.
Well, not seeing right.
Because
when I remember when he came to Spurs, he had a much worse team than he inherited an absolutely dog shit side actually. And the second half of the season, you saw a good uplift. You saw the team, you can see the team beginning to look close, but not quite, to what he was doing at Southampton, that high press intensity, moving the ball quick, creating opportunities. I watched Chelsea. Listen, I'm going to say this, man. You're not going to hate me. I don't care. I've watched Chelsea this season, and when they click, they look better than us. I watched them in that Carabao Cup final, and if they had one finisher, Liverpool would not have taken it to extra time.
But they have
I watched the semi-final
quality.
against Man City. I'm answering your question. I looked at the semi-final against Man City in the FA Cup. They put City to the sword. They didn't finish their chances. Jackson was an absolute... He's worse than Werner, that Jackson. And I watched the second half at Villa Park. We beat Villa 4-0, so I'm not downplaying us. But that second half performance, the way they played, I just think he's inherited an absolute nightmare of a situation. If he's given time and they back him, I reckon he'll leapfrog us if they get a striker as well. So, for me, a better job than Ange. It's just the naivety with Ange. It's just that naivety that kills us, you know? I think with the defenders we've got, we should never be going 3-0 down at home.
Yeah,
I don't think Poch goes away to Newcastle, goes 4-0 down with Van der Ven, Romero, Vicario, Porro, Udogie. I don't think that happens. I don't think he plays the midfield the way that we play it.
Just to counter one thing you said, but at the same time, Poch cost them a trophy. What a stupid, what's it called, substitution.
Poch cost who a trophy?
At Chelsea.
Tell me what Ange did in the Cups for Spurs.
No, I'm just saying, like, he cost them a trophy. Like, that's...
And I'm just saying, tell me what Ange did for Spurs in the Cups.
Well, one against Fulham, I'm going to blame him, but the one against City...
The other one was
there's
against
nothing you can
City.
do.
It's City,
City, you
innit?
can't blame him.
Poch,
But the Fulham one.
we didn't lay a finger on Man City in the FA Cup. Poch, if it wasn't for Action Jackson, they would have put City to bed. Like,
Right. Another question for everyone then.
Well, no, I want to hear what you guys think. What do you guys think? That's my answer. I think my answer is yes. Poch would have done better. But what do you guys think?
I think he would have, because he's got Premiership experience, and I think the team we've got, I think, would be more suited to Poch's style of play. Same as I say, this team we've got, I personally think, forget all the he wouldn't have picked this, he wouldn't have bought that, bollocks to all that, yeah? This team is perfect for a Conte style of play with one or two little tweaks, basically. If you play Conte's way with this, like I've said, Dragusin, Romero, Van der Ven, Udogie, Porro. Your back five is already exactly what he screams
the question's
for
about
in every
Poch.
team.
The question's about Poch, though.
I'm saying the styles of play. I think Poch would do better, but I'm saying why I think others would do better. Poch,
I agree with them.
I think would, but Conte's style would be perfect for this.
I agree with that. For me, this team is made for Conte, specifically Conte. But Poch, I never rated Poch. I think he's a terrible manager, in my opinion. So that's why, like, it's like you compare, like, Vomits.
All right.
They're just terrible. So that's why I don't like both of them.
Your opinions are so extreme. Do you know that? You're extreme.
No.
He took a team that spent the sixth amount of money on transfers, had the sixth highest wage in English football, nearly won a Premier League, got to a Champions League final, and you say he's terrible. That is an extreme opinion, Dietrich.
Okay, did he win? Did he win anything with the best team we ever assembled at Spurs?
No,
but he's not he could have done better. Yeah.
He's not a terrible manager. No.
Okay, let's be serious. If you give Mourinho and Conte that team, would they win a title?
They give it a go.
Probably.
Yeah, there you go. So that's my point.
But that doesn't make him terrible.
For me,
the word's too heavy. Basically, I get what you're saying, but the word's too heavy.
He's just like, unfortunately, he's a loser. Not terrible.
He's good.
He's a loser.
God, I think that sounds even bloody worse. I mean, he's a good manager, no two ways about it. But is he a winner manager? He does seem to bottle it on the day, doesn't he?
He navigated past Man City and Ajax to get to a Champions League final without the best player at the club.
And played Kane over Lucas Moura.
No, but what I'm saying, he's got to that final without Kane. Imagine we lost some this season. You think Ange is going to have us in fifth?
No, but no
chance.
I think Ange is a terrible manager.
Do you know the ironic thing as well, in terms of Poch, his tactics were barely existent as well. If you listen to his former players, they kind of just work on what we're doing. He doesn't care about the opposition. He doesn't really, like, he spends about 20 minutes looking at the opposition for a couple of set pieces. That's about it. He's just like, we'll play how we play, and that will work. And that's kind of what Ange is doing. That's why I was having a sit back and a little laugh about that. But to answer your question, Stel, it's hard to answer that question specifically because Poch would take time to get going with any group of players because he's proven that over his time. So I think we would still be about 5th, 6th in the position we are. And it's hard to then go, well, if you give Poch this sort of team and more time, then he'll do better than Ange because Ange hasn't had that time yet. So it's a bit hard one to answer. But I do get why you're asking that question because obviously Poch has proven to be a very good manager for us in the past. So, but we've got to give Ange a bit more time to make that comparison. So, a bit hard to answer.
Right. So the last
sitting on the
fence.
Dan, can I ask you guys a question? Dan, can I ask you a question?
Go for it.
In fact, come back to it because I forgot.
Couldn't have been that important then, could it? So with that, so what is the main problem here? Yeah, is it the tactics? Is it the players? No, sorry. Let me.
Dan, I remember the question.
Go on.
I remember the question. Sorry, I remember the question. Poch v Ange. The question we just asked, like, who's doing better? Will Thursday decide it?
Quite
No,
possibly.
because Will knew the answer against the 4-1. We saw the answer.
I'm
saying versus Poch.
in some ways,
they've both got one or two injuries.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, what did Poch finish in his first season with us? Can anyone remember off the top of their head? Because obviously I've not.
6th or 7th.
We took forever to get
7th,
going, didn't we?
6th.
I remember after about 6 months of it, I think, get this man out of my club. It's boring football. We're not really performing well on the pitch. But that's because, in hindsight, he was getting rid of all the crap behind the scenes, the players that weren't trying. We had a lot of players in that squad at that time who didn't turn up. They just turned up for their wages, if I remember rightly. So we had to install that kind of mentality of working hard.
Yeah, Adebayor.
Yeah. So, yeah, but obviously he went on and done well for us. Just didn't quite get over the line. The dog might start get going. Thursday, be interesting because Chelsea are.
Will that decide it?
Well, Chelsea are starting to play a bit better now because he's got his feet under the table. They're just a bit inconsistent, isn't they? Sorry, the dog's going, so I'm gonna have to move.
That's fine. He's not. He hasn't had a striker, has he? That has been the main. If Chelsea would have had a striker, they would have been up there a few places. Same as the way I look at us. Chelsea, Newcastle, and Man U have all had pretty shit seasons. If any one of them would have been on, like, back up to a bit of form, we could have easily end up in 8th place again.
Does Thursday decide it though for you guys? Does Thursday, because that is Ange versus Poch. They've got 1 or 2 injuries each. That's about it. But otherwise, they've got most of their players available now.
But we all know he's gonna drop deep and counter us.
But then that is Poch proving he's better, no?
And we always lose at Stamford Bridge, so it's not a big flex.
If you're a top manager,
it's hard to call it with the Chelsea game. I know, but I think it's hard to call it with the Chelsea game because we always fuck up against Chelsea and they always tear us a new one no matter what. It's a hard one to say, that one. But on the question, who has actually had the more successful season? All right, you can say Ange's got us into 5th place. There's been a lot of luck to it. There's been moments that have been good to it. But then in the Cups, we have been absolutely shambles. And with Chelsea, he's at least gotten to a bloody final when Ange hasn't looked like he even knows how to get out the first round.
Yeah, and to be fair,
put it on both ways.
I've just seen it in there. Poch finished 5th in his first season with us as well. So, you know, it's kind of it's matching Ange. But Ange
without go look at the squad he inherited. Go look we had what's his name? Was it Fraser Campbell? Was that the one? Fraser Campbell?
No, he must have left by then. We got Fraser Campbell when I was in Magaluf.
Because Fraser Campbell, he left in the first big summer Poch had. Poch cleared out, I think, 12 players. Fraser Campbell was one of them. I remember because I remember he came off the bench in one of the games in the first season, and it was fucking shocking.
Listen, my memory's getting awful, so that's why I have to check things up before I come on these streams because to make sure I get my facts right. But
I made
Harry Kane.
2-1 Bayern.
Harry Kane, yeah.
Do you know
Wait,
what? I really want
my-
them. I want them to win this Champions League. I do. I want them to win this Champions League.
I would
Dan,
cry.
I feel
I've been saying it for months on all the channels. I've got this feeling for Bayern Munich, man. I've got this feeling that they're going to do it. And everyone's like,
But this
no,
is the
it's all. I'm like, I
If
don't
he
know.
wins, if he wins the Champions League for the first time, I'm gonna see Harry Kane's armpits. I would honestly cry.
he deserves to win something. He does. He's
And
been
Son,
a
him
brilliant
and Son
player.
deserve it.
Some deserves
Yeah.
Yeah.
fuck all.
You know what? If he does go on and win a Champions League, it won't change anything about his legacy as a player. But it will just shut up those annoying people that keep taking a mickey out of him for not winning a trophy. But there's a lot of great players that have played
I
for
can-
clubs.
You know, Dave, we can't win this argument, guys. If he doesn't win, you can take the man out of Tottenham. You can't
Yes,
take the
yeah,
Tottenham out of the
exactly.
man, Spursy, blah, blah, blah. If
Yeah.
he does win it, ha, 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 he left Tottenham. Look what he's done. Your
Yeah.
club's shit.
Yeah.
Whatever happens, we will get it.
Oh,
That's
one
why I
way or
never let
another.
anything like that bother me. You know, it's just one of those things. I just keep it football, keep
It
it
is that.
factual. But yeah, you do get that noise. But I'm aware of the time, Dan, for you. And as I say, I don't
That's
trust
fine.
my internet enough tonight. It's been very choppy.
Okay. Well, with that, one thing I'm going to say to a few people is next Tuesday, me and Dave are going to do a show. Obviously, certain people are going to be invited on because we want to have a talk about coaching and what does it actually mean to get a coaching badge in England, and what does actually being a coach, knowing how to coach, mean you actually know more than another person. I know there's a lot of people out there who don't think that. I know there's a lot of people out there who do seem to think that purely because they have a coaching badge, they know more.
That's how pick
Understand.
is familiar.
I understand. If you've done it, you sort of know what you're doing. But can also coaching be a bit of a problem? You know, we're going to have a good talk about this one. Just a quick answer then on you three with that one that we're going to go to. And I'm going to bring out my notepad and pen for the next one. So there's going to be a couple of people I'll invite because I need to learn on this, the difference between zonal marking, man marking, and elite marking. And I'm here to learn. That's what I wish to do. And we're going to have a good show on that one for a good 2 hours next Tuesday. And I'm going to have my notepad and pen out on this one because there's obviously certain things I don't know.
Yeah.
Dave, how
can I
much
be
is
on that
the
show?
difference? I was going to invite you anyway, mate.
Oh, top man. Good.
Yeah. So, for my opinion, I'll add a third thing in there as well. So, like,
Go for gold, mate. It's your show as well, Dave.
No. So what I meant is you're kind of thinking, you know, kind of fan that's not really. Okay, so you've played the game before, even at a low level, right? But you've played the game, you appreciate what it's like being on a football pitch. You will have a slightly different view of a game than just, say, an armchair fan that has never kicked a ball in their life. The same way, if you're a coach, you will look at things differently than a player or a fan. But I also want to add the other one in as a manager, because I think there's a difference between a coach and a manager as well. So I would look at a game more of a manager. I wouldn't class myself as a coach. I didn't.
Well, you've done managing, haven't you?
Yeah. So I've taken the first sort of level of coaching badges, but they're just like more about safeguarding and the basics. They're not really deep level stuff. But I study coaching from coaches, if that makes sense. So there's
not from a computer.
No,
I
so
mean,
like
I could go and get my coaching badges next week.
Yes, specific ones like Alf Gullerstein is one that I really, really like as a coach of a coach. You know, so learning, it's not just learning the drills that he puts on, but it's obviously the reasoning behind that. So, but I would always class myself as a manager that looks at 11 players and how to get like tactics into those to get the best out of them. So I think that's kind of an extension of a coach. So it's not just coaches I want to talk about. So if you're a coach, you'll look at it as slightly different to all of those other ones I've mentioned, but you might start looking at technique, the way the body position of a player is. Whereas as a manager, you'd look at like the sort of the setup of the squad, the 11 players out there, right, and where people move at certain times. So I'd come at it from a manager's point of view, not a coach's point of view, because I don't think I was ever a great coach. I can't look at many players that I have managed over the years and said I've made you a better player. I've made the team better because I think I set up teams well. That's where I think my abilities comes. And I look at a football match when I'm watching it with a manager's perspective, a player's perspective, and a fan's perspective, so all rolled into one. But I agree that you will look at things differently if you're at those different levels, because you just naturally see things differently because you've just got that different eye. So yeah, it'd be an interesting debate on that. It'd be interesting how we structure that debate as well, right? Because it's a bit of a general one. But yeah, obviously stop talking now. Pass over to Stel, because I believe you are a qualified coach, Stel. Are you not?
No, he's not.
Is he not?
Don't listen to Dietrich, man. He's this guy's. He thinks Pochettino's terrible.
Right.
Dan, the answer's simple. Just because you're a coach, it doesn't mean you're better than someone that watches the game and reads books and studies it. You're not. But it's your experience as a coach. And that's with anything.
It's what you've done as a coach, isn't it? Not just what you've bloody read or seen on a computer.
Yes, what you've done, but what environment you've done it in. I'll give an example. So I did my level 1, come off of it, thought, right, I'm going to be the next Mourinho, the next Arsene Wenger. Started coaching, tight. Absolutely abysmal. Couldn't manage people, couldn't manage the players, didn't know how to develop a sausage. And then you think, oh my God. But then you stick at it. You watch what other teams do. You watch their warm-ups. You watch other teams train. You think, right, let me copy that. And over time, you think, all right, that works, that don't. Then you go and do another badge. And then suddenly the information is overload. Like, well, this is a lot. And then you go and apply it. Then after a number of years, someone comes up to you and says, oh, I like your player. I want to scout him, bring him in for a trial. And then you go into the professional environment. You're like, whoa, this is completely different here. And then you just sit there and watch. You don't say a word. Then you get friendly with a couple of scouts. Then you get invited to tournaments and pro academies. Then by hook, by crook, you meet the right person. I was lucky enough. I flew abroad. I spent time watching how Ajax developed their players. Then I went to Deportivo La Coruña, watched a bit of development there. Now I've got a bit of cultured learning. And then your coaching naturally improves like that. And then it's up to you how much you want to push yourself and learn. Then you run a team and you learn to manage as well. And then, like Dan said, he's spot on, David, sorry. You find out if you're a better coach or a better manager, or you're brilliant like Pep and you're good at both, like really good at both. And then over time, by being surrounded with better coaches, much better coaches than you, there's this saying in life, if you're the smartest person in the room, get out of the room. I've been in environments where I'm the worst person in that room and I'm surrounded by people much better. And you learn from them. That is the best learning environment. But I don't know how you get in that environment unless you do your badges to work in the industry to then get into that environment, because that's where the real learning is. And I've been lucky enough, I think, to have seen enough to say, I know what I'm talking about. Doesn't mean I'm right. Doesn't mean I'm perfect. But I think I'm now at a place where I hear a lot of people talk that haven't maybe had the experience or that journey. And I listen to them talk and I bite my lip because I just want to say, you're chatting absolute bollocks. That is shit what you've just spouted. But you can't say that on YouTube because then, you know, everyone's allowed an opinion. And I hear a lot of things that are said that just it's not true. But I also hear things that surprise me. Like, do you know what? I never thought of that. I actually never. That's. Do you know what? I'm going to take that.
You've got to be willing to listen and learn. Now, one point I just want to put across to a few people. Here's a bit.
But there is a lot of shit that is spouted, though, Dan. There's a lot of shit that's spouted.
Here's a bit of information I'm going to give to a couple of people. I'm even going to go upstairs in the loft and bring down my coaching badge, which I got at Upton Park. Do you know how long it took me to get it? 4 days at Upton Park. I can't remember what it was, just the first level 1 or whatever it was. Yeah, that was 10 years ago. So I do have a coaching badge. Not that I would know what the fuck to do with it because I never used it after I'd done that. And yeah, so I do have a coaching badge. So maybe I do know more than everybody on here who hasn't got a badge. But there we go. That's a different story.
Dan, after I went on my coaching badge, I got the club relegated the next season. We won the league the season before we get promoted, and I went on my coaching course, came back. But it still says you come back thinking like you're Mourinho and that, and it totally messed with my head because what I was doing before was working, and that was just doing what I felt was best. As I say,
turns out you're Sam Allardyce.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah,
so right,
it'll be an interesting one anyway.
Dave, you're going to start showing up with it more regular, not just on Tuesdays, but I'm going to drag you on here by your ear rolls if I have to, mate. But Tuesdays is going to be our main shows and whatever. People, I suggest you book next Tuesday because it's going to be emotional. Stel, where do we find you?
Yeah, Tottenham away. I think we've got a show tomorrow night. North London is ours. which is normally on Thursdays, but we can't do it on Thursday because we've got a late night show after the Chelsea game. Depending how we go in that could be another explosive one. But I think tomorrow night's going to be pretty depressing because the Arsenal fans are going to absolutely bury us, and we haven't got a leg to stand on. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Beatrix, everyone knows we find.
Yeah, everywhere I turn up. If you want to follow me on Twitter, be my guest.
Okay.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
No, it's always a pleasure to have you on, mate. Been a good debate with everyone. Thank you for the crowd. I will ask at the end, as I always do, because I just can't be bothered to go through it all the time and this and that. I just do the little bit at the bottom to do the talking for me. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. If you can't be bothered with a subscribe, then at least give me a bloody like, because it does actually help. I always used to wonder, why does everyone go on about these fucking likes so much? I'm like, yeah, it does actually help. So it'd be appreciated. But anyone,
Dan,
have a good night.
Eric Dyer nearly scored. Eric Dyer nearly scored.
Do you know what? I want him to win that fucking Champions League as well, just to rub it in the face anymore. Anyway, everyone, good night.